All right. Um, all right. I think we just about have everything. So we should be live. So y'all, welcome back to the Bookkeeper Blueprint podcast. We are so excited to have y'all. Um, Let me just share this out real quick and just make sure everybody's on that wants to be. So we do have some new faces in here today. So we're super excited to have y'all. Let me know. Hey Brad, how are you? Some of y'all are familiar, so I know y'all are currently starting, have either in the process of starting a bookkeeping business or have already started your bookkeeping business and may have some clients. But if you're new here, definitely let us know kind of where you're at in the journey. We would love to hear that, especially with our topic today. So today we're going to be talking mindset and kind of moving from that CEO mindset, or I'm sorry, from the employee mindset to CEO mindset, because it's a huge mindset shift. And a lot of times we don't even realize that it's a mindset shift that we have to make in order to be a business owner or because we were an employee and all those things. And sometimes we're stuck in that employee mindset and we don't even realize we're stuck in that employee mindset. And if you have not started your business yet, now's like the perfect time to be hopping in on this because now you can definitely start making those switches before your business even starts and be aware of those things. So one thing, if y'all want to, let's see what we got in the chat. Or yeah, some of you are still working on getting clients. So with that being said, also we're kind of working on topics for the upcoming weeks. Is there anything like specifically that you guys would be interested in hearing, or like need more information on? I know we talk a lot about like Facebook marketing. Is that some things like you want to continue to hear that type of thing? Or are there topics you're like, hey, if y'all could dive in deep on this, that would be great. Let us know those things as well. Like we're happy to do some topics on those things coming up in the upcoming weeks and stuff as well. And y'all, if you're watching from anywhere else, you can definitely jump on Zoom with us. But if you're on Zoom and you want to unmute to chat at all, feel free to do so. If not, I'm trying to watch for comments everywhere and we'll be checking those out as we go. So if y'all have questions as we start, feel free to unmute and interrupt me, or feel free to just drop it in the chat. Post to attract and engage prospects. Okay. Okay. That could be a really good one, Brad. Definitely happy to do someone that awesome. Okay, so I want to tell y'all just a little bit, especially because we have some new faces in here and stuff like that as well. Some of y'all know me, y'all have been on the podcast before, y'all kind of know why we started the Bookkeeper Blueprint, why we're doing these podcasts, those types of things. But for those of y'all who are not familiar, I started my business in 2019 because I was tired of missing out on everything that my daughter was doing. My daughter was 11 years old at the time, and I felt like I'd missed out on almost 11 years of her life because work 9 to 5 was just getting in the way. I couldn't be there for everything. Um, so the reason we created, that was 6 years ago. And then myself and Sherry and some other bookkeepers had gotten together and created the Bookkeeper Blueprint to help others do the same because we saw how life-changing it was for us. The reason I'm here today talking to you about mindset, because you're probably like, I do bookkeeping. What do I do? What do I know about mindset? Well, mindset has been a huge journey and a huge passion for me since I started my bookkeeping business, because it was definitely one of those things that I had to make tons of mindset shifts. And it's been an entire process and continues to be an entire process as we go through growing our business, starting our business and stuff. A lot of times we're stuck in some of those mindsets that we grew up with. And we don't even realize that maybe not it's necessarily a bad thing, but there is another way, because that's just how you grew up. You just know, like, this is how I think, this is how it should be, this is how those types of things. But so mindset. So I took a huge mindset journey as I started my business and stuff as well. So some of y'all, if y'all are familiar with me, some of you've had mindset calls with me. We do mindset group coaching calls. I do individual mindset calls. And that's why I wanted to kind of bring some of that here today to y'all, because a lot of what we're hearing lately is a lot of mindset related stuff. So a lot of, if you hear any mindset coach, any business owner talk, what they're going to tell you is growing a business is 80% mindset and 20% whatever skill you need to be able to grow that business. And even to say mindset, when I say mindset like that, there's so much that goes along with that. There is money mindset. Today, we're going to talk going from an employee mindset to CEO mindset. But there's tons of different things that go along with mindset as you're growing your business. And like I said, I'm 6 years in and I'm still continuing to work on mindset and learn all the things and stuff. I'm right there in it with you and trying to teach all the things that I've learned as I've grown my business. So one thing that I will tell you, you have to definitely get really, really clear on going into this is, why are you starting your business, and making sure that that why is going to be strong enough. And what do I mean by that? So why are you starting your business? Some people come and they're like, oh, I'm starting my business because I want to be debt free. Okay, that is amazing that you want to be debt free. But what is that going to look like for you, for your family, everybody around you? How is that going to affect your life and stuff? You definitely want to look at it from that standpoint, because at the end of the day, some of these people that are on here, y'all know you're out here marketing, there's tons of hard things that come up as you're trying to grow a business. As these hard things are coming up as you're growing a business, you want to give up. You want to just go back to that 9 to 5. But your why has got to be something that's going to keep pushing you so that you continue to grow. You continue to go out there, market, show up, and all the things. Because some of y'all probably heard me say this, my very first potential, I'm like meeting them at a coffee shop and I'm like about to throw up in the parking lot because I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to say to this person. But I knew if I wanted to ever make this happen, starting a bookkeeping business was going to be that step in that direction for me. So I had to show up, I had to see what was going to happen and go from there. So that's going to be like a huge driving factor as you're going into this. So I want you to kind of take a step back and think, because we want to now focus a little bit on what does employee mindset look like? So what do I even mean whenever I say that we need to make that shift from employee to CEO? And this is not like, don't think like, oh my gosh, can't believe I'm thinking that way or I'm stuck in these things. Like, this is just like, hey, we have to be aware of this so we can start to make the changes to move in the direction you want to go in to reach your goals and all of those things. So definitely think about that and just be aware. So when you're an employee, somebody's constantly telling you when to show up, how to work. Here's like step-by-step instructions. These are your hours. This is the task that needs to be done and it needs to be completed and all those things. Success in that instance means keeping your head down. You're not rocking the boat. You're just staying focused on whatever the boss told you to do that day, whatever is going to get you a paycheck at the end of the week. Your time belongs to your boss. You are having to show up every day, 9 to 5, whatever that is, and there's a dollar amount attached to that. If you're not showing up, you're not getting paid. And then also, if I keep working hard, someday I'm going to get promoted and you're going to earn freedom. So a lot of times you feel like that, like if I just keep doing this, there's going to be some other things at the end of the day. And for me, it was one of those things where I had to just come to realize, like, hey, no matter what, unless I do something for myself, the time freedom that I wanted was not going to be attached to that promotion, to that increase in income or whatever the case is. So it's some of those things. Does anybody have any of those right off the top of their head that they're like, oh yeah, like I'm kind of going through that similar situation? So like I mentioned this earlier, like one of the big things for me was like when your time is attached to that 9 to 5 and you're having to show up, these are the hours that the business is open, you have to be there, that kind of thing, then you're missing out on, in my case, it was things that my daughter was doing. So your case could be a little bit different, or whatever your why is. And if it's some people, their why is to get out of debt, something income related, like what is that going to look like? How is that going to change your life, your family's lives, whoever's lives you're trying to impact with that? Okay, so when we're talking about switching from that employee mindset to the CEO mindset, the CEO mindset is going to be less about what you do and more about how you see yourself. So some of the biggest shifts, these are going to be some of the examples that you have to learn as you're growing your business. Instead of I need permission, I need to create a plan is now the way you need to think about it, or that you will be thinking about it. As a CEO, you stop asking, am I allowed to? And you start asking, what's aligned with my values and goals? So that's going to be what is part of what is so important on making sure you know what your goals are, you know what your value is, you know what your why is, because we want to create a business around those things, around why are you starting your business? What made you hop on this call today? Or what made you start that bookkeeping business? Or whatever the case is. So if you haven't started it, why are you even considering it? You know, those types of things. And getting real clear on what your goals is. Why are you starting this business? What is your plan? Are you planning to make this into a multi-million-dollar business? Or is this something, hey, I just want to replace my income and I want time freedom? That is super important, because that's going to determine how many clients you need, how much work you're going to put in on the back end, all of those things, what it's going to look like in the future. Some people start it as like, hey, I want to use this as a retirement plan when I retire. So they want to start slow and grow slow. And that's okay too. Everybody's at different points in life. Everybody has different goals. Everybody has different whys. And that's okay. But that's why it's so important to make sure that we know what those things are, because now we're not asking permission to leave that 9 to 5 to be able to go pick our kids up or whatever the case is. We need to create a business around that. So like for me personally, that's exactly what I've done. I've made sure that I was able to be there to drop her off, pick her up from school, to be at practices, to be at games, to be at teacher meetings, field trips, like all the things. Went on first field trip ever this year with my daughter, because I wasn't able to do that before. And then of course COVID happened and field trips didn't and all the things. So those are things that you have to definitely pay attention to and stuff. Like, what is your why? How can you create a business around what those goals are? So we want to get really clear on that. If y'all have questions about your goals, your why, because that does come up a lot and a lot of people are unsure on like exactly where they want to go with it and everything, that's okay. Ask. That's what we're here for. We want to help guide you so you know where to go with your business, what kind of business you can create, because we've been there, we're there. Another shift is I work to survive, and now you need to change it to I work to build. As an employee, you're working for a paycheck. As a CEO of a business, now you're building something. So that shift should make you start thinking long term. So again, we're talking about the goals and all of the things. So how can we start thinking long term with this? What does that look like for you? And again, guys, obviously you want to think on what is this going to look like in the next couple of weeks, months, all the things. But like in the next year, what do you see in the next 5 years, 10 years with your business? Maybe this is something that you're like, hey, I just want some income, but I want to be able to sell it. That's okay too. Like, know that, but you need to know that and plan that. And it's also okay if you've been in this for a couple of years and like things change, goals change, plans change. That's the beauty of owning a business. You can tailor it to how you want being a CEO instead of being stuck at that 9 to 5. So remember, this is something that you are building long term. It's not just, hey, I need a check on Friday, so I'm showing up. But one thing I think a lot of people also forget about is when you're at your 9 to 5 or whatever, how are you showing up? You're showing up every single day. You're fighting to get that paycheck. this building a bookkeeping business is not something that's just going to or building any business is not something that's going to happen overnight. It's not something that's going to come without work. It's there. If you're there showing up for your 9 to 5, like, you should be treating this business like it's work, like your 9 to 5 as well. You need to be showing up, because if you want to receive a paycheck like you're receiving from there, that's how you have to show up for the business. So you want to make sure that you're pushing and giving it everything you have. So definitely keep that in mind. Another shift that you have to make going from employee to CEO is, I trade time for money to I create value. So as a CEO, you have to realize that it's not about how many hours you work, but it's about the results that you create. So when your income is finally detached from your time, that's when you can really start to see the value that you're bringing. So, and that's why a lot of times you'll hear, and y'all probably heard us say, like, we do value-based pricing. So like, we have packages that we have set up monthly, because, and you've probably seen posts like all over Facebook and stuff. It's not, and sometimes they're like mechanic related, but like, you're not paying $100 an hour, like physically for that hour, but you're paying for the knowledge and stuff that's behind it. Well, the same goes for your clients. They're paying for the value. The potential clients, they came to you for a reason, because you know something that they don't know about bookkeeping, about that piece of their business. They know what they're doing to make money, and whatever that looks like. So if they're building houses, whatever, they know that piece of it. They didn't get into it to do the bookkeeping. That's what we're here for. So you have to remember, like, that's a huge value to them. So think about that. What are the pain points that they're coming to you to, and those sort of things. So we want to really detach the time related to the money. So sometimes, and again, sometimes you are like, hey, I'm charging X amount of dollars hourly, but for the most part, it's still a value-based pricing, because you're providing tons of value to these clients as they're going. Does anybody have any questions so far, before I move on to the next one? Okay, so portraying the value is what's challenging. Um, so that's totally understandable. That's definitely one of those things that you have to work on. And you also have to find, it may not be so much the portraying of the value that's the challenge. It's finding the people who see the value, because you are there. Like, I talk to people all the time and stuff, potentials, and some people are just not at a point in their business where it feels like it's been like a necessity to have a bookkeeper, if that makes sense. And it's just partially because, like, they haven't had that $20,000 tax bill or whatever that they should not have had, or whatever the issue is. And you just have to make sure that you know what their pain point is, and their pain point has to be large enough for them to really want to focus on that. So one thing that I always try to do is just continue to hit on that pain point. And as people, the more conversations that you have, you're going to start to see like some common factors, like, okay, these are some real pain points that people are having with your like people that are in the niche that you're dealing with. Cause I don't really have any clients in your specific niche industry, so I can't touch on their pieces of it. But like, I've had clients reach out thinking they need to be on payroll, so they're paying payroll taxes, they're doing all these things because somebody gave them incorrect information. Okay, well, not everybody needs to be, so that's something that, like, hey, let's talk about that. So it's just, it can come with a lot of practice, the more conversations that you have. But it's also a matter of finding the people who truly see your value. So y'all have heard Sherry talk about it before, about she had to take a step back at one point in her business and decide, okay, I only want to work with clients who are making at least $300,000 in business, who have other expenses that are more than what my services are going to cost, and those types of things. So that's where it kind of, as you have conversations and stuff, you start to get a lot more clear on those types of things, because you want to make sure that you're signing those clients. That's people that truly value your services, because what you do offer is huge. It is a game changer for a lot of people. It's just making sure that they are the people that do see that value, if that makes sense. Okay, so another thing um to remember is time freedom versus time management. So I think this is a huge thing and has been a huge thing. Okay, let's see. Cameron said also dealing with burnout, juggling 9 to 5, and growing the business. Yeah, that's huge. And talking about time management, I will touch on that a little bit. So, I, and Cameron, you know this because you and I've chatted and you've been on here before and stuff. But so, when I started my business, I was working a 9 to 5 as well. I'm a single mom. So, and I had a 2 hour commute. So 2 hours to work in the morning, less dropping kid off and everything, 2 hours back home in the evenings. So 9 to 5, that meant I'm getting up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm not going to bed till 10 or 11 o'clock at night because I'm trying to do work, like working on my lunch break, all the things. I was working some Saturdays. As well and stuff. So I'm going to tell you the thing that really kept me going and kept me pushing. I was so clear on what my why was, had a clear picture on what my goals were, vision board. I have a vision board created. It's hanging right here on the wall next to me. So I was very clear on those things, and I wanted it bad enough that I was like, I'm leaving my 9 to 5. I'm going to make it happen. But on my way to work, on my way home from work, I was listening to audiobooks. I was listening to mindset stuff. The mindset work is what truly got me to that next level, because I'm listening to these people and I'm like, this person was literally living in their car and had absolutely nothing to their name. And now they're a multimillionaire. Why can't I do that? There's absolutely nothing stopping me from doing that as well. And I truly felt like, okay, God is pushing me to do more than a 9 to 5. So, but time management, all those things is what really took, like I had to get really clear on what is this going to look like for me. So during, and of course, as I've grown my business 6 years in, now I have two businesses. It looks different from when I had a 9 to 5 to now, and throughout the whole entire 6 years, it's been different. Depending on what stage of life, season of life, all the things that I'm in at that time. So you do have to figure out what that's going to look like for you. But for me, that was like getting up in the morning, I'm doing some market. This is before I had clients, but getting up in the morning, I'm doing some marketing. All right, lunch break, I'm going to do some marketing. When I get home, I'm doing some more marketing. So you have to kind of figure out something that works for you. But I was constantly marketing because I knew I needed clients and I knew I wanted to make this work. For me, I was on a strict timeline. My daughter was starting competition season. So like the practices and stuff were starting like August, September, but competitions were starting in January. And I started my business. Well, I started learning bookkeeping stuff in May, officially like launched my business, ready to take clients in June. And by July, I had signed clients. But I knew like I've got to give this everything I have, because by January at the latest, I need to have left my job, because we're going to be traveling and my job's not going to let me take off. And there was no way I was going to miss that. So you have to time management, you have to keep pushing, growing a business. It's hard. But another thing that was huge for me that I realized for myself that I had to do was Sundays needed to be a rest day. Like no matter what it was, Sunday needed to be a rest day. Now, were there some weeks that I just worked 7 days and I knew I had stuff I had to get done and all the things? Yeah, like obviously it was there. But I knew Monday through Saturday, I was going to give it everything I had, staying up super late. But Sunday, for me, my body, I have health issues, I had to take as a rest day. So you do have to figure some of those things out for you to take time for yourself, go do things, decompress, step away, and all those things. So that's going to be huge. So I will say, like, the biggest thing, realizing time management and time freedom, like the difference between time management and time freedom, because there's been some points in my business where it had felt like, um, and any business owner, some of you are there right now. It's like you feel like you trade your 40-hour a week job in to work 24/7. Okay. But in reality, that's not necessarily always the case. It's just like for me, one of the big times that that happened, or that I had to take a step back and real and like time track and realize where am I spending my time and stuff, was during COVID, when all the kids come home, you're homeschooling, like all that. It felt like I was working 24/7. But in reality, it was like, okay, I'm working. My daughter gets up, we homeschool or do the school stuff. I work again. So it was just like, it felt like it was a continuing thing. But when I really took a step back and look at it, it was like, no, like this is actually time freedom. This is just how I have to break it out and how it's going to work right now. So it felt like it was you're working 24/7. So time management is going to be like fitting more into your day. So that's kind of what you're doing right now, essentially, Cameron. The to-do list, the schedules, the timers, managing the task, color-coded calendars, whatever works for you. But that's kind of going from that employee, all this has to be done, like all that, because that's just what we're used to when we're at our 9 to 5s. So that's definitely, like I said, when I first started my business, that's what it felt like. So 2019 is when I started my business. We know March of 2020 is kind of when everything shut down with COVID. So November of 2019 to like March, I had like a really good schedule going where I'm like, okay, I'm working 9 to 5, whatever. I'm spending all this time on business because I want to grow. I spent 40 hours working before. I need to spend 40 hours working on my business so I can get it where I need it to be or want it to be, and all those things. So it really, when COVID hit, it really took me like, okay, actually, you don't have to work 40 hours a week. And you don't necessarily have to work at a certain time. There's not clock in time, not clock out time, like all those things. So one thing to remember with time freedom, you control what and you control the why. So you can choose how your work aligns with your life. You can attend everything school related. You can take mental health days. You can go on a lunch date on a Tuesday if you want it. You can build your business around your life, not your life around your business. And that's exactly what I did. And I tell people that all the time, like, I built my business around my daughter's life, essentially, because that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted, how I wanted it to be. So during the summer, she has competitions and stuff. So we travel. So there's times where it's like, okay, I'm out of state, but I've built the business at a point where like I don't have local clients that I have to go into the office. I have local clients, but I don't have to go into the office or anything like that. So I'm able to just travel and everything's virtual and all that. So that's why it's so important to make sure you get clear on your goals, because especially starting out, it's going to be very easy to want to take any client, to want to take any job, anything that comes along. And sometimes they're like, okay, they want you to work certain hours or they need you to come into office and stuff. But if you're really clear on what your goals are and what your why is and what you want this business to look like for you in your life, then that is going to help you determine who is the good fit for the clients in your business. Which client should you say yes to? Which client should you say no to? And stuff like that. And that, again, that's where like all the time freedom and stuff comes in, because you want to make sure that you're really clear on what you want your business to look like. And to be able to take off when you want to take off and all of the things. So thinking like a CEO is going to mean that you're going to create systems, set boundaries, and lead yourself, not just do more. So this also means, like, there was one point in my business that I had to take a step back and be like, okay, wait, I created my business because I wanted to be there for my daughter. And then now I'm physically here, but I'm working all the time. So like now I need to figure out, what's that next step? What does that look like for me? Do I continue to take clients or do I need to start hiring help. So I'm not literally working 24/7 now. So there are, like I said, there's different stages in your business, but you have to realize like, okay, I'm the CEO. I'm in control of this. What do I want this to look like? It's not where like if you're at your in that employee mindset, it doesn't matter what you want. It's what the boss wants. It's the goals they have. They want you to continue to show up. They need these sales. They need this. Da, 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 da. You get to control that. Do you want an additional sale? Do you want another client? Or do you want to say no? You can say no. You can have a waiting list. You can do however you want to do. Okay. Let's see what else. Another thing is all this sounds great, I'm sure. And once we start thinking about it and stuff, it all looks great on paper. But when you're so used to living your life in survival mode, stepping into something new is scary. So that's when you really have to put your faith in and realize, like, is this what God called you to do? Is he calling you into starting a business, starting a bookkeeping business and all this? And if you feel that, you need to go all in and you need to do it. I know like starting mine, there was always like these little signs that like, okay, you're making the right decision. You're going in the right direction. Because I can tell you, even like trying to leave my 9 to 5, they tried to get me to stay on part-time, do this, do that. But as I put in my notice and all the things, everything just started aligning. Like more clients came in, more potentials, partnerships, like all this stuff happened. So I knew like, okay, no, I'm doing the right thing. I really need to step back because there's so much security in having that paycheck, knowing that you're going to have that check on Friday. And then now it's all dependent on you. You have to fully show up, not just clock in. You have to make it happen. You have to have the income coming in. Um, let's see. Cameron has a question. I forgot. Do you handle payroll? So I I have a client that I handle payroll for. If you've heard me and Sherry talk about it, we call it like my community service project. So it's just like it was a very unusual one-off situation that I normally would not have handled payroll. So like this particular client, I handle payroll and I handle accounts payable stuff. So I do go into their office for it now. It was supposed to be a short time period. It's turned into like 7 months now that it's been going on, but it was a situation that came up that they've been a client for a long time that I'm kind of helping them out till it gets resolved and their person's able to do it again. So it's not something that I do typically. Normally they will run their own payroll. I'll help them set it up through Gusto or something if they need it. But even with that, like if it's through Gusto, this particular client, their time tracking system and stuff is in their office. It's not, so it's something I have to go there for. But like typically it would be through Gusto or something where I could just manually do it and do it from anywhere because I have done that in the past. But I usually just try to stick to bookkeeping. And if I'm not doing your bookkeeping, I'm not doing your payroll. Um, I'm trained in it, but I no longer want to offer it since I don't want to be tied down. Yeah, I definitely, it's especially if you use like Gusto or ADP or anything like that. It's one of those things where it's very easy to get them to do it themselves. Like it's literally just pushing buttons and typing in how many hours of using Gusto or something. So it's very easy for them to be able to learn how to do it themselves where you don't have to. Because yeah, there if you're doing payroll for somebody, if you're doing accounts receivable, if you're doing accounts payable, there is timelines and stuff that are going to be attached to those things. Some of those things are things that you like obviously starting out might not be something that you want to think about hiring a contractor or having an employee for, but it could be one of those things that you do have a contractor or you do have an employee that can help you out with those things. So you're not specifically the one that's tied down to it. But also know like a lot of times there is flexibility. So like with this client, it's got to be ran by Tuesdays or whatever. And I can also call somebody and say, hey, run this report for me and do it from my computer, wherever. But yeah, no, I totally get that. If you don't want to be tied down, you don't want that, don't offer it. There's ways around where they can do it themselves. So definitely. That's why, again, that's why it's so clear to get clear to know what your goals are and get clear on your goals and know what you want this business to look like. And again, you can change it, you can pivot at any point because you are the owner, you are the CEO of it. But that helps you know what type of clients you want, what kind of services you want to offer, and all those things. If you know what you want to do. And like I said, it's coming summertime. We travel because of competition. This year, she started working, so we're not going to be traveling as much. But there's been summers where we were gone like 3 and 4 weeks at a time because of camps and competitions and all the things. So being tied down is definitely not one of those things that I want to do either. So I get that. So, but making these shifts, going in full time on your business and everything, it's scary. There's fear that comes around it, and you do have to figure out like, is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this what I'm got where God wants me? Is this what He's leading me to do? All of those things, and you have to be able to push past whatever those fears are. And again, that's why your why is so important. Um, Yes, I'll give you feedback in just 1 second on that. Um, but yeah, that's why it's so important to get clear on what your goals are and all of those things so you say no or yes to the right types of clients. Because, like I said, especially in the beginning of your business, especially when it's like, oh, I really want a client, and somebody reaches out and they're ready to sign, but then it's like, wait, they want payroll or they want me to go into office. It's not really what I want, but I really want the client. But say no because you want a business that aligns with your goals. Because if not, you're going to be right back where you are, miserable and all the things. And we don't want that. We want to be happy in our business and go where God's called us to do and all the things. So today we want to make sure that we start thinking like a CEO. So how can we start thinking like a CEO? 3 different mindsets that we want to kind of implement today. One's going to be ownership. So ask, what in my life or my business am I waiting on someone else to change that I can actually take ownership of? So what are some of those things that you can take ownership of? And maybe it's you're still trying to assign clients. Okay, but how many potential people have you talked to? Is there more people that you can be having conversations with? If there's more conversations that can be had, let's get out there and have them. Have you had it? 100 conversations this month with potential people. If not, you haven't done enough. Get out and do it. Grant Cardone, the 10X rule, if you have never listened to him, he was one of the first mindset books that I listened to. And he says, whatever you think the average person is doing, you need to be doing 10 times that. And you need to be anywhere and everywhere that the person with the pain point of the problem you're trying to solve is at. So where are those potential clients at? So whatever industry you're thinking, are they on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? Are they at networking meetings? Get there, have the conversations, talk to them. That's how you're going to get more clients. So if that's kind of where you feel like you're stuck and how do I take ownership of that? There's ways. Take ownership of it. Number 2, vision over urgency. Am I making a decision based on fear or my vision? That's one of the hardest things that I think for everybody it is to do. Myself, even personally, it has been hard to do at times because you especially in the beginning of your business, you're like, I need the income. I just want to sign clients. I need money coming in the door, like all those things. So sometimes you take clients or say yes to things that you probably should not have. Usually it doesn't work out and you usually end up regretting it. How do I know? Because I've been there. So that's why it's so important to take a step back and think, am I saying yes? Because when you talk to these potential clients, I'm going to say an interview for a lack of better terms, but it's an interview for you and them. Do you want them as a client? Because you could say no just like they can say no. Are y'all a good fit? You don't have to sign them as a client. So that's one thing that, again, I've always like had to kind of remind myself of and have had times where I'm like, why did I do this? And then it ends up falling apart and you're like, huh, that's why, because I never should have signed the person in the first place. But it happens. Because of fear. You make decisions based on fear. Number 3, design your ideal day. So what would it look like if you had full-time freedom? How close is your current reality to getting there? And what's one change you can make this week to move you closer to that? So if y'all have ever done any mindset calls with me, if we've ever talked about goals, y'all know one of the things that I always say is do a day in your dream life. So that's essentially what we mean here. What is, if everything was perfect, if money wasn't an obstacle, all these things, what would a day in your dream life look like? Because essentially that's what we want to work towards. So you want to get very clear on what that is and what can you do today to move you closer to that dream life. Um, and how far are you from that reality happening right now? Um, and that could mean like, hey, we need to figure out like what that income goal is to get you there. Is it 10 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 15 years? Is it, oh, actually, I'm way closer than I thought. I could be there the next year. Awesome. What can we do to get you there? So that's gonna be some things that y'all definitely want to think about. Um, so again, going from employee mindset to CEO mindset is one of those things that you don't even a lot of times know or realize that it's a change that you have to make as you're starting a business. But it's one of those things that myself was guilty of, that like you're stuck in that employee mindset because you've worked a 9 to 5, you've clocked in and out since you were 15, 16 years old, you know? So like all these years, and then now you're trying to do something different. So it's hard, it's an adjustment, and all the things. Okay. If anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. If you have questions you need to unmute and talk about it, happy to answer that too. And I'm going to read this promotion that they wrote comment in here. Doing a promotion next month and would love your feedback. Offering 3 options with a one-time payment. Bookkeeping tax bundle, January cleanup. Okay, so are you filing taxes as well then, I'm assuming? Trying to go for a one-time payment so we're locked in for 6 months or a year and would love feedback. Um, okay, so I'll tell you this. Realistically, let me see what I don't know what your tax, I don't know what tax fees are. I don't do taxes, so I don't know what we would be, what you're looking at. But you, to say like who, you got to get clear on who your target audience is and stuff, because like with what you have here, this, if I divided this out over monthly, this is like 830 something dollars a month if we figured out monthly. So who, I don't know, again, I don't know what tax prices are because I don't do taxes, and it depends on what kind of businesses you're targeting and all those things. So that's another thing you got to get clear on, because doing like a regular LLC is going to be different than doing an S Corp, C Corp, all those things. When I quote based off number of transactions and stuff like that. So to give a price like this, the people that I'm talking to, this would scare them. These prices, to be honest, like just 100% honest, open and honest with you. Um, but again, it depends on who are you targeting, who are the clients that you're looking to sign on, and those types of things. But I'm smaller clients that I'm trying to target, and I want to sign on as clients. So to tell them almost $900 a month, that's not in their budget. But if you're doing some who are, and then also, what are you doing for them? Are we doing project tracking? Are we doing accounts receivable? Are we doing accounts payable? Are we just doing bookkeeping? Are these extremely large companies? Like there's a lot more that goes into it. So I think just to say like, hey, these are the promotions and these are the prices, that's hard to do. Um, Hopefully that answers the question. I do file taxes. The goal is that the business taxes I complete, I want to do it mandatory to do their bookkeeping as well. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. If you're doing taxes, I would definitely have them do, like, if that's how you want to do it. If you're wanting to do taxes and bookkeeping, definitely do the bookkeeping. as well. But at the same time, also know that like I've seen plenty of people who want it separate places. I've also seen plenty of people who want it both places. But some people don't want to do taxes unless they do the bookkeeping, and that's perfectly fine. But you might have some people who come to you and want to do bookkeeping but not taxes. So just kind of think about it from that standpoint. The ideal client I'm targeting for the promotion are construction companies, chiropractors, and also restaurants. I also include payroll plus other things as well on a tax standpoint. Okay. Yeah, I would just be clear, like when you're doing this promotion and you're promoting it and stuff, that you're very clear on that stuff. Because that's going to be huge and that's going to make a big difference. Because if I'm just see a post and see that, then they might run. I don't know if you have our pricing calculator. I don't have it pulled up, but I can try to grab it real quick for you. But again, I don't do taxes. So that's going to make a difference as well. But I'll drop this for anybody who wants it. But I will tell you, like from the standpoint of restaurants, unless they're big, like chain restaurants, they may or may not go for that either. Because most of them I've seen, especially smaller local ones, are on smaller scale. Construction companies, they're also going to need project tracking a lot of times and stuff like that. Then you might be underpriced if that's who you're targeting. So it can go both ways. I would get clear on how many transactions and those types of things, though, for sure. All right, guys. Anybody else have any questions before we hop off? Let me double check. All right. Well, if y'all have any questions, if y'all need anything, feel free to reach out, to post in the group, to let us know. We're happy to support y'all. Feel free to email. If y'all need one-to-ones, if you want to talk any more about this on an individual basis, I do mindset one-to-ones, so I'm happy to talk to y'all about that or anything else. So let us know how we can support y'all, and I hope you have an awesome week.